The brands that post and pray and think they're gonna sell, like build a brand that way, that's a failure. You can't just post something on the internet and expect it to sell. You have to do something. And that goes for any product, any category, and in any business, right? You still have to get people to your site. You still have to build relationships. If you have an Etsy store, it doesn't mean that people are gonna find your Etsy store. You still are going to craft shows and talking to customers about your products and showing your products and having that direct relationship.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Brand Network and International Bulk Wine and Spirit Show. I'm here live from San Francisco, day 2 with Cheryl from LibDib. We're going to talk about, one of the questions that I often get asked, almost, by 1,000 brands a year, which is there are less distributors and importers in USA, but how can we crack the US market? And she has a very good solution, and I think that's a great way to start. I think let's touch base on that, Cheryl. Explain the model which you have.
Sure. So LibDib is a distributor. We're a licensed wholesaler in 9 states, where any maker, any supplier, we call our suppliers makers. It's a little bit more, they're smaller and cuter. Any maker can have distribution in those states once they sign up on our platform, get compliant, and do the things that they need to do in order to be able to sell into that state. Once they're live on our platform, they are available to be bought by any buyer that is going to the platform. Also, most of our makers are out there in the market, building relationships, doing the things that anyone else would do in 3-tier distribution. And we are able to get those products to the buyers compliantly and efficiently. In 5 states, we actually do have a partnership with the country's 2nd largest distributor, RNDC, where we are actually a sales division within RNDC. So if you're in Texas or Indiana or Georgia with LibDib, you're actually within the LibDib division at RNDC. So you are an RNDC supplier. RNDC trucks deliver it. They will pay you. They collect from the buyer. So there were some. My goal for LibDib and for this company was for any maker to have distribution in any state, no matter what size you are. So if you're small and you want to have distribution in Texas, you can have distribution in Texas. And in some states, I do that with my license. In some states, I do that with RNDC's license, because it just depends on the complexities of getting a license in that state.
Cool. So just so you get it, in a different way, you still have to do sales anyway. So the days are gone where distributors are going to push your brand, because it's fair enough. I mean, they also have to make sure that the ease of business is there and they make maximum money with the minimum input, right? So you still have to make sure your brand is selling in any houses. So this is a good way to get started.
Yes.
And in fact, I think it's a better way you control, because you are the one who's having a rapport with the retail. It also allows you to pitch into regional chains, small other chains, especially when she said like RNDC network, that's a gold mine.
Yes.
That takes away the objection of a good distributor being a vendor in a big chain, so that I would definitely use.
100%. The value of, and one of the great things too about, even whether it's LibDib, we are a partner of RNDC, so we are seen as that. So we do sell into all the chains in all of our markets, whether it's LibDib's the distributor or RNDC is the distributor, but there's absolute value to that network.
Cool. So let's go on more of this direct distribution model, right? Which I personally think is the best model, instead of finding and wasting time, which you can do. It's an and strategy. You keep on looking, but you got to keep on knocking doors, right?
Yep.
What are the challenges? What are the lessons that you've seen, like some champion brands, like which some clients have performed well and you've seen them growing?
Yeah.
What are some good characteristics of them?
Sure.
And where are some failures? Why did some brands fail?
Sure. So I'll start with the bad news first, and then we go into the good news. The brands that post and pray and think they're going to sell, like build a brand that way, that's a failure. You can't just post something on the internet and expect it to sell. You have to do something, and that goes for any product, any category, and in any business, right? You still have to get people to your site. You still have to build relationships. If you have an Etsy store, it doesn't mean that people are going to find your Etsy store. You still are going to craft shows and talking to customers about your products and showing your products and having that direct relationship. It's the same thing with traditional distribution. It's the same thing with LibDib. You need to be out in the market, doing the work, meeting customers, Some people do it themselves. They have brand ambassadors. Some people do it with a broker. Other people do it digitally. There's ways to do it digitally where you can bring in your trade buyers and market to them that way. But you also need to be looking at your direct to consumer sales as a way to increase your B2B sales. And how does that work? Well, if you're gathering that customer data and understanding where your customers are coming from and where they are, you can use that data in order to figure out what markets you want to go to next. If you're going to be in the US, each state is different. So you have 50 different markets to tackle, 50 different governments to get some kind of a permit from, and 50 different types of buyers to deal with in those different states. So just use that customer data and be very targeted about where you're going. Don't just go deep. Don't spread wide.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you my personal example. Like I built a wine brand, right? I grew that to a national brand, pretty much 100,000 cases a year. And then I stopped that business. But then again, just last year, I launched another gin in London, made in London, sold in London, thinking direct to consumer play.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I'm back to this. That's where we're going. Like knock doors, go accounts, meet people. And this whole thing is in one way I felt is a myth. The numbers are so small in direct to consumer still. The effort, it takes so much money to build consumer brand. I'd rather knock 5 doors.
I think Jessica on my panel was just saying it's $40 to convert one customer.
My God, yeah. And that too, they know how to measure. 99% don't even know how to do the math.
No, exactly. You don't know
we will just try things and we will think nothing is happening.
I trust what she says. They spend a lot of money on that stuff and they're really good at it.
yeah, exactly. So what are some good things? Like some suppliers that are winning, are you seeing they're like just sales hustling out there on the street?
Look, we had a brand in Texas, and one of the things that part of what we do is we act as an incubator for our big wholesale partner, RDC. So if you want national distribution, LibDib is a good path to start. Or you can stay on LibDib. We actually have people who come from other big distributors and stay on our platform because they want that control over those buyer relationships. But some of the things that I've seen that are successful is there was one person that was just going door to door in Texas. And you can't necessarily expect that you're going to sell it the first time, the second time, or even the third time. But consistency, building a relationship with someone, walking in, if someone says, get out of my store, I can't talk to you right now. Okay, I'll be back next week. Go back next week.
Correct.
Like, that's it. Now, if you get someone who's like, no, I'm not interested and I'm done. Okay, move on to the next. There's plenty of opportunities out there. There's so many licensees. There's so many places to go, but you're not going to build that network overnight. You're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to hustle. You're going to have to be out in the market and you're going to have to be talking to people.
Yep. I remember from my cold call days, some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
And if someone says, I don't take cold calls, get out. Okay, I'm out. But then you'll meet someone who's fantastic and wants to support your brand.
On the import side, right, for the international brands.
Yeah.
Do you have an import license as well?
We do not do the imports ourselves.
So I mean, companies like MHW or Park Street and then done, yeah?
Yeah, we work with MHW, Park
Street,
Street, American Spirits Exchange. We work with another great one in Pennsylvania called Premier Innovations. So we work with all importers. As long as you have a license in the United States, if you're going with an importer in the US, you want to make sure that they'll work with our model because our model is one case at a time for the most part when you first start out.
Explain that.
So you get a retailer, you post your products on our site, they're live, a retailer goes online, they purchase a product, they say, I want 1 case of your Chardonnay. That's them telling us they have the demand for the order. We purchase it from you, then we sell it to the buyer. So, and you will ship it very often via FedEx. And it'll get to the buyer in the compliant way. It's different in every state. Some places it has to go to a warehouse first, some places it goes straight to the account. And that's what our technology does. Our technology will provide you with a shipping label. It already has the address pre-printed on it. It's almost foolproof.